Trustees early.
Where's Hot Mike?
him. Social butterfly.
He's already campaigning.
No, Philip Brown is a delegate from Genoa Township.
Good.
So that's why I know him from that.
Okay. Welcome to the May 5th, 2025 Genoa Township Board of Trustees regular meeting. I will call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. If you would, please join me for the invocation. Heavenly Father, thank you for the beautiful blooms of spring. May the earth's awakening remind us to embrace fresh opportunities while appreciating all you have given us in the past. Please help us all understand all perspectives, allow us to see the world with fresh eyes, and remind us to make a difference. May we continue to grow in love, faith, and understanding. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I get a roll call, please?
Walker.
Here.
Ryber.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Spicher.
Here.
Deaton. Here. Susie.
Here.
Barter.
Here.
You weren't sure you were here?
I know. A long day.
Okay, and with that, I will open up the initial call to the public with the caveat that if you are here for the Edwin Drive SAD or the Summerfield PUD, if you could please wait until the actual call to the public during the hearing for those two items. But if anyone would like to speak on any other subjects, please feel free to address us.
Just me?
Well, you're first.
Thank you. I apologize. I can't stay for the whole meeting today, but just a quick comment on Summerfield. So I have 5 things, and I'll be as fast as I can. First, huge thank you, Kevin and Kelly. I reached out to you about Hughes Road and that county road was having a problem where the mail trucks had put a groove in and it started knocking off all that fresh asphalt. Looks like they've come through. They've probably done about 60 driveways that they fixed that way. So that'll help that road stay better. So to the folks listening online, hey, reaching out to your local township can make a big difference, even with the Livingston County Road Commission. So thank you. Super happy that Summerfield is back in front of you today. I hope that gets approved. It's been working on for years of work in getting that across the finish line. I know you're voting on master plan and some spending and funding approvals that need to go for the public segment. And I just a comment. I know it's happening. I still think it doesn't ring to the people who've been invested 20 years ago in the master plan, 15 years ago in the master plan, 5 years, and 2 years ago in the master plan. It looks great that looks like we're going to divvy it up into 3 sections. But gosh, just as recently as Corey Lepic selling his property to someone who's looking to do that in that medical corridor that we developed along Grand River. So there's a lot of activities that happen that are still related to the future land use in the master plan that we've done previously. You also have an attempt to approve the drive-through changes to zoning. Awesome. That's also years in the making and really, really makes sense. And last but not least, Kelly, you had comments about Crooked Lake Road, the Crooked Lake history in your board comments. It's a great read. I live on Sharp Drive, which is the north end of Crooked Lake. So in history, when they started doing the homestead, Andrew Sharp is the guy who got that corner lot at the end of Sharp. And there are a lot of references in Livingston County that call it Sharp's Corner. So, just food for thought as you read through that information. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for a heads up on Hughes Road. Anyone, nobody else signed up. Anyone else like to address the board on general subjects? Okay, with that, we will close the initial call to the public at 6:36. And with that, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda with items 1 and 2.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Consent agenda approved. At this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the regular agenda.
I'll move to approve the regular agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Regular agenda approved as written. Action item number 3 is a public hearing on the proposed special assessment roll for the Edwin Drive Road Maintenance Special Assessment Project. Part A of that is a call to the property owners. So as of 6:37 p.m., I would like to open the call to the public for property owners on Edwin Drive.
Michael Raffalo, 1619 Edwin. We've been in here 3 times now. The last time, some of the homeowners had some concerns. I've met with them, discussed with them their concerns. Those have all been alleviated. And then we sent you a copy of a letter from the people that couldn't make it tonight because they got families and kids and stuff. It's harder. So we have a consensus of all but one person. And we've answered all the questions that the people had, so I just want to let the board know that, we listened 2 weeks ago to what they said and have resolved that. So we would appreciate the board's approval on this.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for the update. Anyone else, Patty? No, sir. Okay. Well, with that, at 6:38, we will close the call to the public for property owners. And Part B, we will open a call to the public for general public, anyone that wishes to speak about the Edwin Drive Road Maintenance Special Assessment Project. Seeing none, we will close the call to the public for the Edwin Drive Road Maintenance Project. Therefore, I do believe we move to item number 4, which is a request for approval of resolution number 5, confirming the special assessment roll for the Edwin Drive Road Maintenance Special Assessment Project to go on summer tax 2025 to begin with. So I would entertain a motion on item number 4.
I make a motion to approve item number 4 as written.
I have a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have support. Any further discussion? Seeing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Hunt,
Yes.
Reiber,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Varder,
Yes.
Susie,
Yes.
Deaton, yes, Spiher.
Yes. Okay. Motion approved, confirming the special assessment roll for Edwin Drive Road Maintenance. Action item number 5 is a public hearing and consideration of recommendations for final approval of the amendment to the Summerfield Point Planned Unit Development Agreement, final condominium site plan, and environmental impact assessment for 12 attached condominiums and 102 detached single-family homes. The project is located on Lawson Drive, north of Grand River Avenue, and this request is petitioned by Healy Homes of Summerfield, LLC. I will start with item number A, which is the call to the public, which I will open as of 6:40 p.m. So anyone from the public who would like to speak regarding the amendment to the Summerfield Point Planned Unit Development Agreement? Okay.
Good Good evening. My name is Jamie Shinjek, and I live at 4441 Astor Boulevard, which is in the adjacent community right next door, Hampton Ridge. I've actually spoken at pretty much all of the planning meetings preliminary for this project, and just want to reiterate what I said at the most recent Planning Commission meeting, that I do greatly appreciate the planning commissioners, the former Board of Trustees, as well as the developer, Mr. Healy, and his team listening to my concerns. To just summarize, because I chose not to submit an email but speak, I'll be brief. My issues that I've brought up to the board for these years is the difference in lifestyle of living. We live in attached condos in Hampton Ridge, and obviously that's what Summerfield Point is. And so one of my biggest points was lawn care, which again, the developer as well as all of the board have made an effort to write that into the bylaws to keep 1 day a week lawn care. And myself as well as community members are very grateful for that because that is a disturbance switching from attached condos to single-family homes, and at least 60 homes are within 300 feet of 20 residents. So why I'm so passionate about this for our community is we are unique in the sense that our units only have windows facing one direction. So there are at least 20 units that face east, and that's the property that is in line. So the thing that I mentioned at the planning meeting a few months ago that I would like to bring to you all to take into consideration with the developer is there's still a discrepancy that is bothering me in the bylaws, which is allowing for play structures. The bylaws have set forth a service company doing the lawn care for 102 homes, but as you can imagine, I'm looking long-term if that's sustainable. I don't want this to be smoke and mirrors to get this project on the ground and running. I want to make sure it's sustainable for our community to still have peace, as well as the residents of Summerfield Point that do have condos as well, that are used to that lawn maintenance. And when you add play structures, and the other thing is also fire pits. We all know we've been to fire pits. It's not people standing around, it's usually chairs. I'm just trying to think how a lawn company is going to sustain that long-term. From a cost standpoint, I also don't want to see the new residents going into these homes, having it get jacked up by a company that, you know, it's going to be a challenge to go through 102 homes. So I'm asking for consideration to remove the ability to get approval of play structures and even fire pits. And oddly enough, it is written in the bylaws that units 1 through 8 are not allowed to have those things to mirror the bylaws of the Summerfield attached condos. So obviously, those residents must have expressed similar concerns. And so I just would like to see that carry through for the rest of the community, just because I do think that that will help ensure that this 1 day a week lawn care is going to be sustainable for everyone. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for your participation all along.
Maria Belcher, 4082 Hampton Ridge Boulevard, in the Hampton Ridge Condos Association. I've been on the board there for 10 years and a resident for 12, almost 13 years. So I appreciate coming to these meetings and that looking over the most recent packet that is in reference to this issue. I can tell that when we come and we express what we are concerned about, that the board, former and present, is listening, and that you are making efforts to make us and them happy, that we hopefully will be looking forward to being good neighbors to one another in the future. And I appreciate that from the board. I do still have one issue. On page 209 of that recent packet is a little text window that talks about the oak. I brought up the issue of oak wilt, and that those trees need to be removed during the dead of winter. And there is a date, let me check my other side of my notes. I think you said that they couldn't be cut between April 15th and June 15th, but the truth of the matter is, if they are diseased trees, the only time you can cut them down is January through March. Now, we can either ask that Mr. Healy and that building development test all the oak trees on their property, or we can just request that they cut any oak trees down during January and March to prevent spread of oak wilt. That's the only way to do it. They can't cut them in September or August. It will spread. So that's the only thing outstanding that I am still concerned about, is when those oak trees will be cut. They haven't been diagnosed as ill yet. They might be fine. But if they're not going to be cut in January through March, then they need to be tested to make sure that we're not spreading that. Oak trees are beautiful, and we want to retain them in our community, not just my little community, but the city of Howell. So we want to preserve that. I do want to thank you again for the Knox Gate and for all the concerns that you've addressed so nicely for us, that I think will make it possible for us to be good neighbors. And a special thank you to Amy, who, in her letter of recommendation in the packet, suggested that the conifers in the open space be done in 2 rows instead of 1, to allow us a full screen. Very considerate of you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to participate in the call to the public on the Summerfield Point?
Thank you. I'm Judy DeChia, president of the association at Summerfield Point, and I have been conversing with Amy. She's been wonderful. Getting some general information, because I heard there was another meeting a month or 2 ago, and I didn't know anything about it. We didn't get notification. But through her, I did find out that there's going to be 3 associations in that location. There's going to be 3 for the new condominiums, and the detached is going to have their own, and we have ours. So there's going to be 3 associations. My concern is with the ones that are going to, the condos that are going to be built. Hopefully they don't have trailers, boats, because we're not allowed to have it. So living next door to one that has it and one that doesn't, it has to kind of mirror it a little bit. The other 102 is separate. It's on the other side. But my concern is that they kind of mirror what we have, because we're living right next door to them. And just wanted to know also, how are they going to commence forward? I understand there's only going to be 2 ways out of our development, and one is an emergency access with a fire gate that will be installed, so that's not a throughway. We only can leave by Lawson. That's going to be 102, and some, hopefully going to work isn't going to be easy, but that was finalized, I believe, right? The fire gate and the road leading through Hampton Ridge, but that's going to be closed. It's just the fire gate. Okay. The other issue was, is there any idea when this is going to start, the condominium's going to be built? Is there any idea of time-wise? Are they starting soon, or are we going to wait another 18 years? No. Hopefully not. We want it to get done because we need it to get done. So that's the other issue, is hopefully it'll move on from here and just keep going. And those were my concerns. Thank you very much for Amy, and thank you for everybody on the board.
Thank you very much.
Yes. It's Judy and last name D.E.
While they're wrapping that up, does anyone else wish to speak on Summerfield Point?
46, 48.
So at this time, actually, I would like to open up to Healy Homes or their representative, if you'd like to give a brief presentation.
Good evening.
How are you?
My name's Wayne Perry. I'm with Design Engineering. We are the civil engineers, land surveyors that are assisting Healy Homes in putting this development together. Sitting here with me this evening is Grant Steele, representing the developer. So, a brief, and I promise brief, history of the project for those of you not acquainted with it, as well as some of us might be. This is an existing planned unit development, Summerfield Point. Summerfield Point currently is approved for 192 units, developed in a total of 48 buildings. This was approved, I don't have a date, but it was approximately 25 years ago, I would guess, something like that. It's been around quite a while. The request this evening that we are making is for final approval of an amendment to that planned unit development agreement to reduce the number of units in the development from 192 down to 158. It's a reduction of 34 units, approximately 18% of the unit density. And the ability, or the modification to change 102 of those units from attached 4-unit buildings to single-family residential site condominium units. The roads within the project that you see before you here on the overall site development plan are very similar to the road layout currently approved. The road connections mimic what was there previously. The southerly half of the development, which is to the right-hand side of this picture, the roads mimic what was previously approved. The only substantial difference in road layout is the westerlymost road on the northerly portion of this project in the approved plan was right along the westerly property line. We've moved it away to put lots in there between the road and the property line to the west. That's the only substantial difference in the road network. Utilities and sanitary sewer all fairly well mimic what was already approved in the plans for connections. Utilities are similar. The stormwater management system, the collection system, is basically the same as what was currently approved on the plans. Well, we have expanded and deepened the stormwater detention basin, which is located in the north end of the project. That has been done to conform with the new regulations of the Livingston County Drain Commissioner as far as volume, and we have deepened it down so that we get it down to the elevation of the sand layer to allow for infiltration of rain runoff rather than 100% discharge, which is what it's currently doing. As was noted earlier by a couple of the people that spoke, we have worked over the last year or so with the neighbors addressing some of their concerns. The Astor Road connector, which is on the west side of the project, will be gated and limited for use by emergency vehicles only rather than as a open road connection between the two developments. And some modifications, as were noted, to the master deed and bylaws. So primarily, this looks very similar to the plan that's currently in place for the project, except that we are looking to change 102 of the units to single-family units. So that gives you a brief overview of some of the changes and modifications from the plan that's currently in place on the site. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to, myself or Garrett would be happy to address anything we could for you.
Would you guys like to address anything that was just brought up at the call to the public?
Sure, as best we probably can.
Sure.
The issue of lawn maintenance. This was brought up during the public hearings at the Planning Commission. And recognizing that both the existing Summerfield Point planned unit development condominiums that are currently there, as well as the adjoining developments, both of them to the west, are all attached units. Jack Healy agreed that modifying the requirements for lawn maintenance so that it all occurred on the same day, rather than as you would in a conventional single-family neighborhood, everybody decides to mow their grass whenever they desire to do that. That's now part of the agreement. It's also part of the master deed and the bylaws to make sure that that happens. Whether there are play structures that they have to trim around, or fire pits that they have to trim around, that's the responsibility of the lawn maintenance company. They do it all the time. So does it make it more difficult for them? Absolutely. You know, I'm not on a lawn maintenance crew, but I do my own lawn, and mowing around the play structure and the fire pit is a headache, but it can be done. And it's now a requirement for them to do that. So pertaining to the oak wilt note, we added the note in accordance with the recommendation that was provided to us at the time. We are happy to modify that note to limit the removal of the oak trees on the site to, I believe it was January through April, or whatever that timeframe is.
January through March.
Okay, yeah, we can certainly.
Should coordinate up with
yeah,
our
we
tree
can
ordinance.
certainly-
Yeah.
We can certainly limit that.
Yeah, excellent.
That is not a problem.
Excellent.
There was a comment with regard to the new association that we're creating for the 12 attached condominium units, 1 through 8 and 9 through 12 down in the southeast corner of the project. Their master deed and bylaws, and I'm not the attorney that drafted them, but as I understand it, the master deed and bylaws for that association was taken directly from the master deed and bylaws for the existing Summerfield Point condominium to make sure they match. And I think the issue was pertaining to trailers and campers and things parked outside. Joe, do you know, are we? That's never been one that I've seen, or can we put that in there? For those 12 units? Can you clarify that? Make sure I understand. I believe the question was with regard to parking trailers and campers outside in the attached condominium.
So the bylaws for the new attached, along with, I believe those first 8, does have verbiage in there that you cannot have trailers and recreational vehicles.
So,
Why was it just limited to the first 8?
Because that was, throughout this process, the 3 remaining buildings and then those 8, even like the colors that we have to put on are gonna mimic the ones that we built 20 years ago. So when we were requested to have those bylaws similar to the existing attached condos. And that's why it reflects in that section.
And that's 1 through 8 and as well as 9 through 12, correct?
of the attached.
Of the
condominium?
attached.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah,
That
I think
is-
the concern was whether or not it mirrors it, and it sounds like it does.
Yes. Well, the attached condos, shown up there as units 1 through 8, 2 buildings, and 9 through 12, which is way out at the southeast corner. Those buildings are already approved in the existing planned unit development agreement, just as they're shown on here. So those 3 buildings that are each contain 4 units, those are per the approved plan. The reason they were not constructed previously, need to be constructed now to complete that section of the development. And for legal reasons, cannot become a part of the existing condominium because the time has elapsed for modifying the boundaries of the existing condominium. So we have to create a new association for those 12 units. Otherwise, their unit style, the unit design, as Mike mentioned, the building colors are all identical to what's already there. So hopefully that addresses the comments. There may have been another one, but.
I believe so.
Okay.
The only other one that I heard is, if you get approval tonight, how fast are you gonna build?
Oh, yes, how fast? Well, it's 7 o'clock. No, as soon as we can get permits in place. The challenge with any development like this these days is not so much permitting through the local community. We can permit through the township fairly quickly, and will do so. We can permit through the county fairly quickly. The water main permit for extending the public water main and the sanitary sewer permit for extending the municipal sanitary sewer both have to go through the state of Michigan through Eagle. Currently, sanitary sewer permits are taking approximately 4 months to get a response from Eagle. Water main, could be the same time frame or a little bit longer. So that's really the constraint. We're ready to submit the plans as soon as we get approved here tonight. We can literally send them over to MHOG for their consideration and expeditious moving them on to Eagle. It's strictly getting through the state of Michigan's permitting process that is the longest time frame. So as soon as we're done, we'll send them out.
Good.
Within the next
Excellent.
6 months.
Yes,
Okay,
definitely this year.
yeah.
So as soon as we can get all the permits in place.
That's a definite maybe.
A definite maybe. I like that.
Well, when you're at the mercy of the state permits,
Yeah.
Well,
You do what you
obviously,
can.
there is a demand out there right now for housing, so waiting at this point makes no sense. We just have to get through the process and get the permits in place before we're allowed to start, so.
I do have a question. Between lots 84 and 85, you have a proposed play area and open space. Is that where you, or is the builder planning to do a play structure for kids there?
No, not necessarily. That was a part of, there were some carryover requirements from the initial planned unit development. I'm gonna be quite honest, I didn't work on this project originally.
Okay.
We did not do the original PUD. There was a requirement to have a designated play area as a part of the original PUD agreement.
Okay.
That meets that requirement.
so it's basically just open space.
It's just open space, but
Yep.
it goes back to the original plan development that's currently in place. There was a requirement to have a designated play area for kids. That part of the agreement is still there, we have to honor that, so we have that in here.
Okay, but no plans. The reason why I'm asking is because the resident had mentioned about not having play structures. And I happen to agree with trying to keep the lots consistent. Why allow the people in the back to have play structures but not the people in the front? Because that could cause a lot of fighting. And, you know, when the lawn mowing company does come through and it's costing more for some residents because they're spending more time weed whipping around certain items versus others, I think that this would just alleviate a lot of future fighting. So if they had a designated play area like most condominiums do, like Hampton Ridge does have, then I could see, you know, the need to support that.
Would that be the responsibility of the homeowner association to put that, something like that in place?
Yes, because the
Yeah.
builder is not willing
Yeah.
to do that.
Right.
I guess the difference being is these are single-family homes,
We're
not
saying-
condos.
Right, but they're saying lots 1 through 8 are not, or actually 9 probably, are not allowed to do that.
Because they're
Is what-
condos.
No, the house is single-family homes.
So
They'll be
it's,
single family, but
Right.
yes.
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
But they'll know that ahead of time. I mean,
Right.
I hope they read their deed.
Anybody purchasing in here hopefully reads through the agreement, okay? It's all a part of the deed. The bylaws, the master deed will be a part of their closing documents. And it's spelled out right in there who has the right to do what.
Have you guys got a fine structure in place so your bylaws actually have teeth? Because that's a common problem where an association will have bylaws, but what's a bylaw if it has no teeth?
Bylaws are enforced by the association. Beyond that, until the association's created, I don't have any way of
Right.
Okay.
controlling that.
So I'm one of the ones that's new to this. Why does like 1 through 8 look like lots if that's gonna be attached condos?
They're not, those are lots.
Well, which 1 through 8? There's
The one
three.
right here in the red.
No,
It's
no, no,
just
there's
been-
3 different condominiums here. So the single-family lots are 1 through 102. They are within their own development, their own condominium. The attached units north of there, 1 through 8. Kelly's gonna perform some magic.
I'm
Oh, up
trying
there,
to.
up there.
Yes,
The
on
other
the
one
other
through
side of
The
the
other
street.
one through 8.
Oh, and then you said you had an existing building already over there?
All of the current 44 are existing buildings.
The light gray ones.
Oh, they're already there.
Yep.
So
Those
that-
are already there,
So the 1 through 4 and then 5 through 8, that's new? That's gonna be new?
correct.
And the 9 through 12 up at the top corner.
Oh. Are those currently all sold, all the ones that are existing?
To my knowledge, yes. Once again, I do have a copy of the plan here if anybody's interested. The existing plan for this project has those 4-unit buildings all around this property. A total of 48 4-unit buildings. That's what's currently approved out there. Same road layout, same configuration, just 4-unit buildings everywhere, not single-family units. So the 3 4-unit buildings, the one on the very top of the screen that Kelly just circled in red, and the 2 buildings circled in blue are currently on the approved plan the way they're shown here.
All this ask is, in essence, is to change the rest of the undeveloped into detached condominiums, 102, reducing the number by 34.
Reducing the number by 37 and putting in single-family rather than attached units. That's the request.
So I do have a question. Before I came here tonight, I headed east on Grand River and took a left down Lawson. I'd not been back in that subdivision before just to take a look at what it looks like, and I don't want to. I don't want to wait at that light to turn left too many times. Somebody expressed a concern with the traffic. I'm just assuming this was before most of the people here on this board time. The traffic study, is there gonna need to be like a left turn signal, or is there any improvements to the traffic, or is the single light that's already there at the intersection all that's gonna be controlling the traffic into the single entrance and exit from that subdivision is right there on Lawson and Grand River?
The
And it's
improvements,
straight across the street from the entrance to Kohl's and the new car wash. And I'm just wondering, I assume you guys did your homework and did a traffic study.
back when the original PUD went into place, as I said, we're reducing the overall count by 37 units. And the improvements to the intersection of Lawson Drive and Grand River were a requirement of Healy Homes, Jack Healy, to complete those. Those were completed 3 years ago,
Maybe a little more than that,
4 years ago?
yeah.
Okay, so we just recently completed, Healy Homes just recently completed all of the required improvements to the intersection of Lawson Drive and Grand River in advance of starting the process to make this change, because we couldn't come forward and make the change without having already done the improvements that he agreed to do.
Yeah, that's it right there. So that is the final,
Yes,
that's
it
what
is.
that intersection is gonna look like even after, if this is approved, even after those 102, 100 and something extra residents get in there?
Correct, the improvements have been completed recently, yes.
The road commission will do a study. I mean, they will monitor the situation and adjust the light, as warranted.
That would
But
be
also
the
keep in
responsibility of
mind,
the builder.
this isn't
That'd be the
necessarily a
responsibility of the builder.
development, like, they could build the 48 remaining units as is with no problem at all, as the road is. They're actually hopefully going to reduce the amount of traffic on the road with the current plan that they are proposing.
Correct.
We gotta look at it too, that there's a lot of construction on 96 that's having people take Grand River where they would otherwise be on the highway. We're finding cars in places that they're not normally found.
For the next year and a half?
Yay.
Yeah.
I have also often used that traffic signal, and it's a long wait currently off of Lawson, so I have to imagine, like Kevin said, that will be revisited and looked at.
I just brought up on the screen, just so you
Yeah.
can see, September 2016 was pre-improvements. It was basically just 2 lanes. And then after the developer funded these improvements, it is now 3 lanes. And that again was funded as part of the development agreement for this project. They had to pay for these improvements to this intersection.
I had one other question. One of the residents expressed a concern about speeders. Other than the roundabout at the entrance right there, are there any stop signs at any of the intersections within the, I'll call it the gray roads? Right now, there's a loop to the left, I see a loop to the right. Are there any stop signs or anything that prevents somebody from just? Because that happens in my neighborhood, right past the little park with the little kids. They'll be doing 50 miles an hour through there. And we don't have permission to put speed bumps because emergency vehicles can't slow down. You're not allowed to prevent them. I just wondered, is there any kind of stop signs or anything to at least tell people, slow down, stop?
Well, there are stop signs at all of the T intersections.
Okay, that's what I was asking. I don't see it, obviously, that might be on a different view right here, and I haven't been involved in it.
Yeah,
But there was a
well,
concern that
and-
people are
and-
just gonna race down here.
And once again, there's also no connection through for regular vehicles, for emergency vehicles only at Astor Drive. So
Right.
we no longer have a connection there that's usable. And the roads here are designed with tighter turns, particularly to avoid part of that problem. Yeah, there is one road through there that's got a straight stretch on it, but the turns in here are as tight as we can get them, because that keeps people going slow. You can't go very fast around the tighter corners in this development. And it was designed that way originally, and well, we've mimicked that design to keep that as a part of the plan.
So like that right there, that's on the screen, that would be a 3-way stop?
There's,
Okay.
the stop sign is indicated on the, yes,
One stop sign there.
yes.
Oh, okay.
Kelly, go to the intersection to the south from there, to the right. Oh. At unit, yeah, a little,
Keep going.
right there, right there. Okay, so we have stop signs both on the east and west streets there. But there is not a stop on the through road.
Can that be reversed?
Yeah, you would think
It
you'd
can't be
want it on the right
reversed,
side.
no.
You can make it a 4-way?
You could make it a 4-way.
What's
You-
involved in
you-
doing
you
that?
You could not reverse it. That would create a serious traffic problem. Yeah.
Keep in mind, though, the road commission will take into account, you cannot use a stop sign as a speed control device.
Pardon me?
You cannot use a stop sign as a speed control device. It is strictly to regulate the flow of traffic. So like if you have a
It has the
crossroad where
effect
there's a stop
of
and there's a
slowing
big
down traffic,
straightaway,
though.
well, just legally, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
You just
Correct.
can't call it that.
You can't place a stop sign anywhere you'd like one just to slow down traffic. That's against the law.
So what do we have to do then to persuade the road commission to say, I need a traffic control device
You
there?
have to have your legislators allow them to change where they put stop signs.
The beauty of this neighborhood, though, is these are private roads, correct?
They are.
So the road commission, the homeowners association, if they want to install stop signs, they would have the authority to do that. They will control these roads. So if it becomes an issue where people are going too quickly down that main entrance road, the homeowners association, I believe, would have the authority.
They have the requirement to follow the same regulation.
There is a
They
question
can't
as to whether it's
randomly put
enforceable.
stop signs wherever you want.
We tried it. We tried to
it-
put a speed limit sign, and it was ripped out by the sheriff's department.
Correct.
Your roads are public.
Nope.
They're private.
Mine are
Yeah,
private.
even on private streets, you have to follow that requirement. You can't just randomly place stop signs.
Okay. Thank you.
And they took ours out.
You can do
because
it. There's a
they
question as
said,
to whether it would
"We
be
cannot
enforceable."
enforce your speed limit. I don't have the deputies to enforce your speed limit. And so they took it out. So I'm just trying to be responsive to a concern that this is
Absolutely.
gonna be a raceway because it is in my house, it's private roads, and they go right past the playground, which is the bus stop as well. 50 miles an hour.
That is a long, straight stretch.
I know it is, and you can get going on that. So I don't know what relief we can offer, you know, the future residents in here to enhance, well, even the existing residents in here, right? I guess I would have to be part of the homeowners association board to try to come up with some creative way to slow people down or petition the road commission. to
Or
put it-
speed bumps.
Well, they won't have a,
Put speed
they won't
bumps.
have a say, but yes.
So would there be a reason for you to not choose to put a stop sign at that four-way intersection to make it into a four-way stop?
Is there a bus stop there?
Because at this point, it basically seems like the expense of two stop signs and two posts.
All I can say is we could take a look at it and see whether it's possible. I don't have an answer for you. Once again, the road network, the road layout is as was previously approved.
Okay.
Except for modifications to allow the single-family units. The connections are the same, the basic layout is the same, the basic intersection configuration is what's currently approved on the site. So we would have to go back and take a look at warrants, see whether or not it's justified and whether it's possible to add 2 more stop signs there, or whether they would simply be removed by the sheriff's department for lack of enforceability. I don't have that answer right now.
So I just want to remind everyone that this has already been through the planning commission, this has already been approved. Our purpose tonight is to amend the current PUD to allow them to change the configuration, drop it down 30-some-odd units. And that's it. The minutia of these details have already been worked out, approved, and will be continued to be addressed by the appropriate bodies, but that's not our purview tonight.
Well,
can
we
ask
can
questions.
Oh,
we can
absolutely.
approve with
Absolutely.
amendment,
But
we can
that's not the-
approve with
we can't do anything about it.
promise to do a study, we can approve, or we can deny.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
We have-
absolutely.
We have that vote as
Absolutely.
well. I'm just trying to express a concern from my personal experience and something that one of our residents in Genoa Township had a concern with, and I just didn't know, until you zoomed up there, I didn't even know that there were the stop signs there. You know, kind of hard to see on our screen right here. I was just asking on that resident's behalf, what we can do to avoid that being a raceway.
Absolutely, fair. So. And it will, a lot will have to do with whether the intersection warrants a 4-way stop versus a 2, and that would be based on traffic counts. Which I guess being a private road would have to be part of a traffic study. Which should be hard to do before it's built.
Well,
Could do
this
some
has been a long time coming, and I'm glad to see it finally at the final stages here. And I'm very happy to hear the comments from the public. I know our planning commission, our staff, everyone is great working through these developments and hopefully making everybody as happy as they possibly can. And very proud of our planning commission, so. And the developer as well, you've been very cooperative.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any further questions or comments from the board?
I
At
just
this,
think we need to be concerned about the residents. You know, we were voted in to try and take care of the community. We have to be concerned about that.
sure, no, absolutely. At this time, I guess I would entertain a motion on item 5B, the disposition of amendment to the PUD agreement.
I would like to make a motion, but I would like to alter that motion to include the removal of the play structures and fire pits from from the PUD agreement, put that as a bylaw restriction, because if the HOA is providing lawn maintenance for all these houses, I think it's only fair to the rest of the residents that choose to and choose not to have the play structures and fire pits, because it's gonna add value and cost associated with the HOA fees. If it was not provided for by the association, the weekly lawn maintenance, it'd be a different story. This has to be consistent in the neighborhood, and I think that that's only fair to the residents.
I would second that.
I would like to just add something to that, because I appreciate what you're saying, but making sure that the tree removal, that's not listed in there, what we talked about, the tree removal under, be with our current ordinance for tree removal for the January to March situation.
Oh, the Willow Oak,
Yeah,
The oak will?
yeah,
yeah, sorry,
to include that in that,
as part of the PUD.
yeah.
I need clarification here. You are looking to restrict all play structures
That's correct, and
and
fire pits. To be consistent with, because the HOA is providing weekly lawn maintenance, like the regular condos, it's all gonna be done at one time. And I think it's only fair to the residents, that it's all consistent, and that some people, it's not fair that some people get extra benefit of having, it's gonna take longer for certain households to have weed whipping done, and it's gonna be more cost-effective to just have it all the same way. And then the HOA or the builder can think about throwing in a play structure like Hampton Ridge has, and we also have a beautiful park here at Genoa Township.
Thoughts from the developer?
Well, I would offer the following. We're so worried about the lawn maintenance service. I've never encountered, how do I put this tactfully, concerns over the efforts that the lawn maintenance service have to put into putting into the property, because each of these units, each of the buildings out there now are not landscaped the same. The guy with the weed whip that's got to go trim around the edge has got to trim around whatever's there. They're not the same. Each of the houses will not be the same. Each of the gardens and landscaping in the yards will not be the same. So whether or not he has to weed whip around a metal edge that is crazy and curving and wonderfully interesting from a landscape perspective on this guy's yard, or a fire pit on this guy's yard, it's probably going to take him longer to weed whip around a very complex landscaping on unit 102 as it is one fire pit on unit 67. So the landscaping on each house can be more complex than a fire pit or a play structure. So
I understand your point of view.
we're worried about the cost difference, which this is the least of the costly items in lawn maintenance, because they still have to trim around everything else that's already there. Driveways, trees, landscape edges, shrubs, bushes, so mailboxes.
You're seeing it from a builder's perspective. I'm looking at it from a resident's and an owner's perspective. And from that standpoint, why is it fair that I have to pay for somebody else to have a lot more done in their yard? And I get that you said that the front has got certain amounts, like you don't know what they're gonna do, but everybody's gonna have some form of landscaping around the front of their house that has to be weed whipped, and maybe around the sides. I'm talking about in addition to the exterior back, and that's what I'm trying to avoid, to make it consistent so those lawnmowers can go right through instead of going around a bunch of stuff and weed whipping. You are altering a approved condo complex, and you are making the rules and regulations like a condo complex by having the consistency of the lawn maintenance, and I'm just trying to make it consistent.
Understood, but as I said, if I own one of the units and I go plant 5 more trees in my front yard, I'm allowed to do that. They have to go around every one of those 5 trees. Is that more or less difficult than going around a fire pit?
Real quick, I am moderately qualified to speak on this subject. It is not going to make a lick of difference in terms of cost to the person bidding the job, whether there's 5 swing sets, 8 swing sets, 13 swing sets, a fire pit. They're gonna look at the size of the lot, count out 102, count out with an average price, and that's how that's gonna work. You have 102 single-family homes, really, that are all going to be cut on the same day, so you will not have trouble getting somebody to perform that contract for you. That is a home run in the lawn care industry, from what I've been told. So I have a big problem with restricting what people can do in their own backyards. I am kind of a private property rights kind of guy. I could not support not allowing fire pits and not allowing swing sets, especially because most of our people are trying to attract young families to reinvigorate Genoa Township, and young families are probably going to want play structures and fire pits.
Well, I lean to what Kevin said, you know, I don't want to restrict a person from, you know, I mean, I realize it would be in their restrictions and they would know it when they bought it, but to look at a 7-year-old and say, no, we can't put a slide in our own backyard. You know, I don't want to put that much of a restriction on it.
For the reason that the concern is brought up, I personally don't feel is a concern.
I also don't want to stop this from moving forward because of this either. So-
True, true.
Just a comment, a suggestion, it might be a horrible one. My take of the public comment really has to do with these 2 buildings in Hampton Ridge that directly abut
Okay.
the neighborhood. So the philosophy between limiting 1 through 8 was the fact that they directly abut existing condominiums. There might be an opportunity or maybe a compromise that a few of these lots back here have a restriction. It goes against, Robin, your point about, you know, trying to tell somebody why Timmy can have a swing set in his
But
yard.
you
and-
can't.
And he can't. But that could potentially be a compromise. My take of the citizen concern was more the lifestyle change between those 2 uses. And
get
maybe
that.
there's an opportunity to limit selectively,
Right.
recognizing that's going to be difficult to enforce.
Well, several of us didn't even know about this till we saw it in the packet, because we were new. You know, I didn't know this. You didn't know this either, Bill.
What's that?
Like,
No.
I didn't even know this was gonna come up today.
Well,
I
it
just
was
read
at the
about it on
planning
Sunday.
commission, and
Yeah.
so
Well,
we should all be watching what's at the planning commission and coming toward us, so this shouldn't be that new. I mean, granted, yes, I've seen it for years, but it's still been here. What, planning commission approved it
March 10th.
March 10th of '23, so
We did a reading the
We
last
did.
meeting,
we did.
and it is in our packet.
Well, I made the original motion.
You did?
We can vote on that, and and Todd seconded it, so.
Okay.
What was
no,
that
so-
motion with the amendments regarding the playscape commonality? Is that your motion?
That's correct. To
Current motion
remove-
is yes.
To make it consistent with the condo and removal of the fire pits and the play structures. And then Rick also wanted to add the oak wilt removal for the PUD agreement.
So you made a motion, I seconded your motion, and then Rick wanted to add something to it. So
And that was to only
we
cut,
need to vote on the original motion that was made,
Okay.
don't we?
Unless you would like to amend your motion.
Rick's amendment was to only cut oak trees with disease January through March. Correct?
It's oak tree, period. It's not
Oak
just
tree,
if they
period.
have disease.
Okay.
It can be spread from, trees far and wide away. It should just match up with the township ordinance.
Township ordinance, right.
So that should be no problem. They've already said they're good with that.
No problem.
So I have a motion and I have a
So
second.
I need to amend my motion
Okay.
then to include the oak wilt, or the diseased oak trees to be removed between January and March.
Just any cutting, trimming, any touching of oak trees needs to be done in accordance with the current Genoa Township tree ordinance.
Yes, and the amended PUD agreement to exclude fire pits and play structures from the units. So they're consistent.
Okay, so I have a motion.
I'm sorry, before we vote,
That's good.
let's just say, devil's advocate, let's just say the majority of us vote yes, approve the amendment. Does that wipe out play structures and fire pits from, so little kids can't have swing
Yep.
sets?
Yes, it does.
I just want to add that there were 6 conditions that staff recommended be included in any motion regarding the development agreement. So if we vote on this with only those 2 conditions, the 6 items included in staff's letter would not be included.
See, when you're looking at this, you're looking at it from I know they understand that it's a site condo, but you're looking at it as a condo perspective because the lawn maintenance is included, just like a regular condominium. And that's what the difference is. If everybody mowed their own grass, it would be a different story. I'm saying to be consistent as a condominium, you have to have everybody just all the same.
Okay, well, I own a site condo. It's a house, right?
But you
It's- I don't-
provide your own lawn care.
I do, but I'm kind of like freedom too. If my little kid wants a swing set by Joe, you're
want
gonna
a
get a little
swing
swing set. You know.
Then vote the way that you feel, okay?
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I was clear. And Kelly, you made a point that these 6 items here, the recommendations for the staff right here,
That has to be part of the motion, otherwise they go away too.
Yeah, so the motion currently on the table that's been supported is just for the 2 items that have been discussed. Staff asked that the planning commission, or that the board also include those 6 items. So unless the motion is amended to include those 6 items, if you vote on this without them, they would not be part of the record.
So the motion as amended that she just stated, I will not support.
Can I add a clarification here, and I know it's a bit out of place, but if I may?
Absolutely.
For hopefully clarification purposes, there are 3 associations that we're talking about here within the overall PUD. The existing association, which has their rules and regulations pertaining to lawn care. There is the 3-building, 12-unit attached condominium association, which will have its own rules for lawn care, which are identical to the attached units that are currently there. Then we have a 3rd association consisting of 102 single-family units. And the restriction that was required, that is actually in the bylaws, is simply a restriction on when lawns are mowed. 1 day. That's the restriction. There is technically no requirement for the 102 units to use the same lawn service.
They could cut their own grass.
Oh, I thought they wanted it all done in 1 day.
The requirement that was requested by the township in conjunction, in responding to the residents' concerns, is there's only 1 day for lawn service.
Oh, okay.
That's the way it's provided.
Not that it has to be all done by one company.
That's a good point.
Not a requirement in the
Yep.
master deed of the bylaw.
Yep.
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna say,
fine.
that was written into the new agreement, but yes, the original agreement does not have
That's fine.
provided
They don't
line
have to have a
cutting.
lawn service, they could cut their own yard.
On that day.
So what happens, let me ask you this, what happens if lawn day's Tuesday, and I'm out of town on Tuesday? Do I go another whole week without being able to cut the grass?
Apparently.
You're creating a huge
Yeah, that's what
enforcement
the
headache
township
for the
had.
HOA is what you're doing. but-
This is why I'm saying about the consistency.
This required, was known to be an
Single-family
issue,
homes.
but this is the requirement. That's what has to happen. You have one time.
Or what if it's raining?
If it's raining and the lawn service comes, it rains. I
Get
mean,
wet.
they still mow.
With the good ones, no.
You don't have to specify it will be completed on a Tuesday. You specify that it will be completed on one day of that week.
All the
So if
same.
it happens to be like Monday
We're
this
getting
week
way deep here.
and Wednesday the following week, that still will fall in line with your bylaws, correct?
Once a week, yeah.
Okay, so what are we voting on?
Who's gonna remember?
We're way off in the
with our
weeds.
motion?
Oh, this is getting.
Thank
So-
you for that
Yeah.
point.
I didn't write them, I can't help you with that one.
So the motion is,
Yeah, but wait, a minute. Todd, did you withdraw your
support
your second?
I withdrew my support,
Okay, so there's a motion, but there's currently no support.
correct.
Okay.
Hang on, Patty's needs clarification.
No, she
The
has
motion
it
was
as
to
two.
approve the PUD agreement with the changes to remove the play structures and fire pits and the oak wilt.
Well,
Todd?
and the recommendation, let me add this, because I didn't see that, I thought that this was already in there, and the recommendation from the planning director,
Items 1 through 6.
items 1 through 6. Yes.
So now, you're not supporting this motion,
After further discussion, you are correct.
So Todd withdraws his support.
so we have a motion. Do I have a second? And with that, that motion will fail. I would entertain further motions on this agenda item, 5B.
I would move to approve the amended PUD agreement with staff and attorney comments incorporating the additional listed items 1 through 6, but also to include that the PUD follow the current township tree ordinance for oak trees to be cut only in January to March.
Okay, I have a
I
motion.
second that.
Do I have a second? I have a motion. I have a second. Any further discussion? I guess just for the heck of it, clerk, would you please do a roll call, please?
Sure. Havarder,
No.
Susie,
Yes.
Deaton, no. Spiker,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Reiber,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Okay. Item 5B passes, disposition of amendment to the PUD agreement. I would entertain a motion on item 5C, the disposition of environmental impact assessment dated 2/14/25.
I would make a motion to approve the environmental impact assessment dated February 14th, 25, with the 2 conditions listed from planning staff.
I support that.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask all those in favor to signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same?
Aye.
Motion carried. Disposition of environmental impact assessment is approved.
Now, on the motion for the site plan, we did get a revision from Amy today. I want to make sure the developer's aware of it. It was adding,
So, there is an amended motion from what was in the board packet as it relates to the site plan. It had to do with the master deed and bylaws specifically for the new condos matching with the existing condos as it relates to road maintenance. So the estates condominium says that they would participate in road maintenance for the condos, but it wasn't duplicated in the attached condos, that they would have to participate in road maintenance. So that is what she is recommending, that it be include, so that,
Yes, that's fine.
I think it was just an oversight.
Okay,
All right.
then I'll make a motion.
With that, we have 5D, which is the disposition of the amended final condominium PUD plan.
Then I'll make a motion to approve the final PUD dated February 14th, 2025, with the revised 6 revisions from the planning director.
Support.
And just to make sure, you have seen these 6 conditions, correct? Yes. I was under the impression you had, but that last one kind of scared me a little, so. Okay, so I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask all those in favor to signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same?
Oppose.
All right, motion carried. Disposition of the amended final condominium PUD plan. All right,
Thank you for your consideration. I appreciate
Good
it.
luck.
all right. Action item number 6 is the consideration of a request for approval of an updated proposal dated April 16th, 2025 from Giffords Webster to include an additional $2,800 for public engagement, including a project website, community survey, and joint meeting, and to include a $3,680 contingency budget from General Fund, Planning and Zoning, Contractual Services Fund, number 101-701-802-000.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the board hopefully recalls that we approved a proposal in February of this year to initiate and move forward on the master plan. The board authorized sort of the baseline services associated with that and left the public engagement portion to be determined. As part of the due diligence on determining the public engagement, the consultant met with the Planning Commission. They had a very good discussion about getting robust public input for the master plan process. And what they've come back with is basically a phased approach, with the first phase being a survey that would be distributed by on the internet. So we've got a web page that is set up for this. We would promote participation in this survey through the app that was recently created by the board, through the website, using social media to try to drive as many comments on the survey as we can get. Then taking the results of that and having a joint meeting of the Planning Commission and the Township Board to then make a decision on whether or not there's additional public engagement that we want to do. So I think this is a nice approach. It's very cost effective and will allow us to go out and get that public engagement done with an opportunity to add more if we feel like we need it.
Yeah, if you had a chance to take a look, I think the division is very nice, the 3 separate sections to analyze. I'm hoping we can ask.
Is this additional cost, additional scope, additional work they're charging us for?
Yeah.
Yes, so this is for the project. Remember, we didn't approve community outreach?
We pulled
on
it
the
out.
initial?
Yeah, we didn't approve the
So
whole
this,
thing.
this is actually for most of this is already included in the original package, but the community, like the website's already up and working. The community survey is in essence what they are designing here and will administer. And I'm hoping we can have a chance to discuss with them. I just want to make sure there's a way to filter out so you can't have, like a bot that fills in, oh, I would love to have this right here.
Right.
Click, 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 400 approvals for that. I'm hoping, and I can't be the first person that thought that something nefarious would happen with an online survey, so I'm very confident they do have that, but we will.
The Planning Commission had those same concerns. If you watch them, that exact question was asked, and they said they do have the ability to track IP addresses, so they can usually identify pretty quickly if they're getting multiple hits from the same IP address.
Okay, excellent.
Is this restricted to township residents?
So that'll be one of the questions, is that, you
Okay.
need to indicate where you live.
Good.
So would that, if they said they were not a township resident, would it kick them out of the survey?
We likely would just let them continue through it, but it would filter, the survey program would filter those off separately.
Good. I think it's a great idea.
I think this survey is going to be, I think something where people don't have to come to this room to participate as much as we'd love them to and welcome them all to. I think we're going to get a larger number of participants if people can sit at their house, at their computer, at their leisure
Absolutely.
at 3 a.m. and fill out a survey. So I do feel this is a valid component to add to this public outreach. And there is some more contingency in case we decide there is something else that we want to do. I do still feel we'll do some in-person town halls that we can certainly moderate and handle on our own with a little guidance on what information they would like us to collect. So we'll look to keep the cost down that way.
And this is just, if you haven't clicked on it yet, this is the master plan update page, which will sort of be the landing point for all the update information.
No, I think it looks great.
And if I'm not mistaken, we do have the link to that right on our Genoa Township homepage, genoa.org. So there's not a ton there yet, but
And the My Genoa app?
We should make an applet for the My Genoa app.
Great idea.
okay, excellent.
Hook people with it.
How many people participated in the countywide survey? They had a photo contest, they had a survey, they had a multi-day workshop, show up, it was open to everybody, you picked your township, where are you from, what do you want to see? I don't know, 5 people from Genoa showed up?
Not the one I was at.
The one that I was at by the airport?
Yeah.
Okay, I went to a different one.
Yeah, no, we had quite a Genoa showing, some of which are no longer here, but, yeah. Yeah, there was probably 15 or 20 at the county at the day that I went. And I did not see the final number of how many participants they had. But they also probably didn't do quite the level of publicity that this group right here is looking to do.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a big difference there.
Yeah,
For sure.
you have to spoon feed the information.
And what is the strategy to spread the word that there's a survey?
The app, Nextdoor, Facebook,
We have an
announcements to our fabulous YouTube audience. We might even have to go knock doors again just to make sure we didn't run out of practice.
Oh, boy.
And I think a lot of that falls on all of us too, to make sure that we're sharing it in our social media circles, right? When that post goes up on Genoa Township, whether it be Nextdoor or Facebook, that we're sharing it too, sharing it in forums that you may be on. I know I'm a member of some mom-to-mom forums that have a lot of people in them, that those are really great ways, I think, to share and promote that type of a survey. I know when Howell Parks and Rec did their survey, they had a lot of people sharing that in different forums across social media, and I do think that helps build a more robust response. Sometimes that can make it hard to weed out who's in and who's out of the community, which is why that's a very important question in the survey is, are you a resident or not? But I think a lot of it is on all of us and on our planning commissioners to try and get the word out.
My goal is for us to be so annoying that when people see us coming, they go, we need to run because they're going to talk to us about this darn master plan survey. And we're sick of hearing about it.
What is the additional cost?
$2,800 is the cost for the survey. That's the design, the implementation, reading the results and interpreting them, publishing them.
And it includes a joint meeting as well, so having them come here and go over the results of the survey results with us in a joint meeting format.
Can I make a comment? At some point?
Sure.
You know me, Deputy Pine Tree Trail. The questions that are going to be on this survey, who decides those questions, and are you guys and the Planning Commission going to be able to oversee some of that before those come out to the public?
Absolutely. It'll be a joint collaboration. The Planning Commission actually runs the master plan.
That's what I thought.
So they will have, more say, so to speak, than us, but
Okay.
we're going to certainly be involved. And then, Giffords has been doing this for a while, so they will guide us on what they think is
What they think will get
the best,
majority of responses.
But we will have the final say, in terms of when I say we,
I know
the
what you
residents
mean.
of Genoa Township will have the final say as to what is actually on that survey.
Okay. And then one other thing, I know a couple people who have kids in the school that's going to be affected by any changes to Latson, and they had expressed some, questioning, can they be part of this survey? So what about the people that live in a different township but go to 3 fires and will be affected by some things that happen? So I'd like you to think about that.
That would be a school of choice. Well, no, I guess it wouldn't be a school of choice.
They were said
that's
that
fine.
is the school they
I
have to
think
go
it's,
to.
I mean, I guess we can ask the planning commission what they feel, but I have to believe they're going to want strictly residents of Genoa Township.
But they're all going to be able to participate. It
Right.
won't just list them differently than
Yeah.
township.
And listing them is fine, but at least taking into consideration what their concerns are, since they will be affected by things that we do.
The more concerns,
And they don't have a choice.
more concerns we can learn about,
True, that's true.
the more.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't realize people from over D19 use the school here because, my kids aren't in the schools anymore, so I don't even think about that. But I do think it is something that you should be thinking about. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Yeah, I think what they would do is summarize the comments that we received from non-residents. They definitely won't be thrown out.
Yeah,
We'll welcome all the
exactly.
feedback we get. They'll just be summarized separately.
Good.
And the last time we did the master plan, what was it, 500 people participated in it? And
Little less.
Little less. And the
less.
supervisor's goal is to have 2,000 people participate. So we have a lot of work on our hands to get more engagement this time, and we want that.
Okay. And with that, I would entertain a motion on action item number 6.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask all those in favor to signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Action item number 7 is a request for the introduction of proposed ordinance number 250519 and to set the meeting date for considering the proposed ordinance for adoption before the Township Board on Monday, May 19, 2025, for the purpose of considering a Genoa Charter Township Cemetery ordinance as requested by the Township Clerk.
So we have a small, very vague cemetery ordinance in place, and I was addressing some residents' concerns, and I wanted to make sure it was actually, as I'm explaining to them, what rules and regulations we have and trying to address their needs and their concerns. I just want to put it legally in writing as an ordinance. We are part of the Herbst Road Cemetery, and they have their own rules and regulations, and we need to implement some of those into our cemetery as well. There's been no real formal big ordinance, so I'm asking that we put something in place and repeal anything that is existing.
Well, thank you for updating this. It was long overdue.
I have to say, being here in the building with the clerk, you don't know how much work she's done on the cemeteries as a whole, not just the ordinance. The ordinance is fantastic, but just getting the plots laid out, figuring out what is where. Janine has been, just done a spectacular job on that.
I do also want to, there's a couple, I started with cemetery lot, because that's what the previous clerk had mentioned, was that she called it a lot. After doing some research, it's called a plot. So if there's any, I need to double verify. I did have the township manager go through the ordinance. The initial one that was posted did have a couple spots where it said lot and not plot. She did make those changes, but I just need to make sure that everything says plot in place before we, pass it,
So we will vote on this at the next board meeting.
That's correct.
Yes.
So I have a question about, the original one said it was only available to Genoa townships. You want to open it up to anybody?
Not just anybody, it's the Genoa Township residents and their immediate family.
Okay.
So
And you
it'd
do
be-
have on there an allowance for somebody who has moved away, a child has moved away, that sort of thing?
Yes, so it would be,
There still has to be a connection to Genoa Township in there.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
correct.
So is there any other information you would like to share about the ordinance?
No?
So it's
No,
on
I
there
think-
for everybody to review.
Good job, Denise.
Yep, that one actually is, we don't need an action on that, so, that will be at the next meeting. So, action item number 8 is the second reading and consideration of recommendations for approval and adoption of proposed ordinance number Z 2505 regarding zoning ordinance text amendments in Article 7 entitled Commercial and Service Districts, Article 14 entitled Parking and Loading Unloading Standards, and Article 18 entitled Site Plan Review as related to drive-through restaurants.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this was introduced at the last meeting and is before you this evening for your consideration. This includes amendments to Articles 7, Article 14, and Article 18 of the zoning ordinance. These changes are specific to drive-through restaurants. We talked about this a little bit at the last meeting, that when our ordinance was initially written, the only type of drive-through restaurants were fast food restaurants, right? Your McDonald's, your Taco Bells, and times have changed. And we're now seeing different types of restaurants seek to have a drive-through that maybe don't have the same impacts or the same traffic as a smaller drive-through restaurant. So this provision is basically being requested to accommodate those different types of drive-throughs. It allows for them in the general commercial district, as opposed to right now, you can only be in the regional commercial district. It does allow the planning commission and the board to deviate from the 500-foot spacing requirement if it is found that the traffic can be properly mitigated. And it provides for some requirements in the site plan review section, that they have to provide information in their traffic impact assessment about the type of traffic that their drive-through would generate, so that we can properly balance that with what's proposed on their site plan. So I think this is a good change for us to make. I think it'll continue to support business in the Grand River corridor, give a little more flexibility, but also protect the township from nuisances associated with drive-throughs.
I do know that staff and our planning consultant have been working on this for an extended period of time, so it's not something they just whipped together in the last 20 minutes or something. So, I mean, this has been in the works for a while, and I think they've thought it through very carefully.
Absolutely.
So, if there are no further questions or comments, I would entertain a motion on action item number 8.
I would move to approve and adopt ordinance number Z 25-05, amending zoning ordinance section 7.02, schedule of the commercial use, and section 7.02.02, permitted and special land use within Article 7, entitled Commercial and Service District, section 14.06, off-street parking space, designated standards and setback requirements within Article 14, entitled Parking and Loading, Unloading Standards, and Article 18.07.09, Traffic Impact Studies within Article 18, entitled Site Plan Review as related to drive-through restaurants.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion. I have a second. This is an ordinance change. Clerk Deaton, I will request a roll call vote, please.
Okie dokie. Susie,
Yes.
Hovarder,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Reiber,
Yes.
Hunt,
Yes.
Speicher,
Yes.
Deaton, yes.
Okay, motion carried. Ordinance Z 2505 has been approved. Action item number 9 is a request for approval of a renewal of the Uniform Video Service Local Franchise Agreement with Comcast Cable Communications Management, LLC, AKA Comcast, with an annual video service provider franchise fee of 5% and a public education and government, PEG access fee of 2% for a 10-year term beginning May 5, 2025 and ending May 5, 2035.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've been working very closely with Mike Watsa with Kitch, who is our telecommunications special counsel on this renewal with Comcast. And we were able to work with Comcast to have them make one single change to the agreement, and that is to increase the PEG fee from what is currently 0.2% to 2%. That is consistent with our franchise agreements that we currently have with Charter and WOW Communications. So we thought it was important that all of our cable franchise agreements are consistent. We're looking into options and ways that we can use the additional PEG revenue in the community. And I did also provide for you this evening, I had a few trustees ask me about if this change is approved by the board, whether or not that means that the Comcast would try to pass that on to our residents. We did get a response from the attorney on that. And basically, he's indicated that history has shown that it does not have a direct increase in subscriber fees. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Did we have a 10-year agreement before this one?
We did.
Okay, so this just was.
It's a renewal.
Yeah, okay.
Any further questions?
This is good.
All right.
I'll just add, because I did the research, Trustee Susie had asked me earlier today what the current amount that we're getting from them is and what it would be post the increase. So the current revenue that we're getting is $11,900, and with the increase from 0.2 to 2%, it goes up to $123,000. So this will be a considerable increase in the PEG fee, and I'm really excited about what opportunities that might give us to help promote public access in the community.
Thank you for doing the research, because that actually came in a lot higher than I expected it to. I thought it would be less. So.
Perfect, because I got that sent to me, and then I'm like, here, Kelly. I don't know what this is. Would you please help me? She goes, I got this.
And just so everybody understands, as people cut the cord and stream, they do not pay into the PEG fee.
Yep.
So that number will probably continue to slide downward as more people stream. And that is something that we're gonna maybe talk to our state legislatures on and see what they can do on that, continue to fund.
And we also have some restrictions on what we can do with those dollars. So community input, communication, I think we're gonna look into it, but probably lean towards some of the stuff we're doing with the master plan for the communications of that, our streaming, the app costs, different things of that nature that can be channeled towards that. But with our original mandate of more community involvement, more communication and so forth, I think this goes a long way in helping us achieve all the things we want to do with those funds.
So I just have a question, just because new to this, just clarification. I'm gonna read part of the agreement right here, and Kelly, maybe you have some experience in this. This is in packet page 278, section 7, item B. Any public education or government channel provided under this section that is not utilized by the franchising entity, that's us, for at least 8 hours per day for 3 consecutive months may no longer be made available to the franchisee and may be programmed at the provider's discretion. What does that mean? What do we use? What does Genoa Township use for government use of transmission? I mean, do we have a Channel 8 cable or
We do
something
not.
like that as Genoa Township News?
We do not.
Okay, so what does this mean here? A government channel provided under this section?
So that means if we chose to have a channel on using Comcast, right, if Channel 8 became the Genoa Township channel, we would need to continuously program that for at least 8 hours a day for 3 months, or else they could potentially take that channel.
They can just take it
and
over and
repurpose
do
it.
whatever they want to with it?
Yes.
Okay, but we don't have that, so this does not apply to us?
Correct.
Wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good point.
I didn't know what they would broadcast.
Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion on action item number 9.
I'd move approval.
I'll support it.
Okay, I have a motion, I have support. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask all those in favor to signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Action item number 10. Consideration of a request to accept the resignation of trustee Bill Reiber and to approve appointing trustee Rick Susi as the alternate representative to the Brighton Area Fire Authority Board with a term ending November 20th, 2028, as requested by the Township Supervisor. Bill, would you like to provide background?
Yeah, so when I was asked for this, I looked at a couple different things. The available time I had, I didn't know what the meeting cadence was. It is an alternate, so it wasn't going to be a heavy lift in any case. And I since had a change in my employment status that took their regular meeting schedules, which is for me a regular workday. It took it off the table for me. I couldn't attend these meetings because I had to be elsewhere. So I did resign because, not that I didn't want to, it's just the logistics, I can't do it.
Absolutely, we appreciate that. Good luck in the new pursuits.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, for stepping in.
Sure.
So with that,
With our 2 active people on there, I don't know how often I'll get an opportunity to be involved.
probably won't get a chance to be
Probably
here a whole
not.
lot.
I've been named.
I make a motion to approve item number 10 as written.
I second.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask all those in favor to signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same? Motion carried. Action item number 11 is the consideration of a request for amendments to fiscal year 2025 and 2026 budget required by Emergency Management Resolution 250407 to create a new general fund transfer out appropriation line item number 101-965-995-250 in the amount of $250,000 and to establish a new disaster contingency fund number 250 with transfer in line item 250-000-699-000 to receive the $250,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thankful for the keen eye of trustee Reiber. The disaster resolution that was passed by this board on April 7th includes a provision in Article 9 that we create a disaster contingency fund in the budget of not less than $250,000. So in response to the board passing that resolution, we worked directly with our accountants to determine the best way to set up a fund for that. And they recommended that we establish a new fund, so essentially open a new bank account, and then transfer the money from the general fund into this new disaster contingency fund. It can be used for the purpose of paying for disaster relief personnel, supplies and services, repair costs, or any other needs to mitigate the effects of an emergency or a disaster. So essentially, we're setting up a savings account in the event that there's an emergency in our community. We would have funds to respond to that.
With the hopes that we'll never, ever
Never
have to
use
touch it.
Yep,
With interest, right?
with interest, yes.
Okay.
The best we can get since
Yeah.
it's just gonna be sitting there.
So with that, anyone have any questions? I would entertain a motion on action item number 11.
Make a motion to approve the amendments to the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget required by Emergency Management Resolution 250407 to create a new general fund transfer out appropriation line item 101-965-995-250 in the amount of $250,000 and to establish a new disaster contingency fund number 250 with transfer in line item 250-000-699-000 to receive the $250,000.
I'll second it.
I have a motion, I have support. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask all those in favor to signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. On to items for discussion. Number 12 is discussion regarding planning and zoning educational opportunities for citizens.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. This is something that we've talked about in the office. The supervisor and myself have both had some discussions about the importance of public education. Recently, we sent a number of our trustees to the Citizen Planner Program or to the Michigan Township Association Conference. And it's really, I think, becoming important in our community and other communities in the state that we work towards educating our citizenry on how planning and zoning works. We've all heard the statements. We've all probably in the past, before we knew about it, made statements about why can't we just say no? Why do we have to allow development? Those are all great comments, great questions. And the more that people learn about the laws and what we're allowed to do and not do, the more informed they are and the better participants they'll be in a lot of our public engagement efforts. So what I wanted to talk to the board about was to see if there was interest or support for seeking assistance from perhaps Michigan Association of Planning or MSU Extension, who does the citizen planner classes, to host a forum for our residents on kind of the essentials of planning and zoning. I don't know if people would be interested in participating in it, and it might be something we determine what the cost would be and then throw it out and see if folks are interested in it and go from there.
We do need to determine that, but I do think there will be, maybe not the level of support that we would hope, but I do think there will be a number of interested parties to learn what the rules really are.
Especially some of our more engaged residents.
Ben, we're signing you off.
Would be perfect because they have an audience of their own and they very vocal about things going on, and I think it'd be a wonderful opportunity. So.
Yeah,
And I would very much want to make this available via video and then to have it be stored online for review at any time.
$1,000 to help pay for it. I will tell you, Kelly, I was in that crowd. Another bank, another car wash, another. Why can't we just say no? We got like 5 of them within the next mile, and there's a reason why you can't say no. Not really.
We don't get to pick the winners.
Arbitrary no's are not allowed.
Right.
Gotta have a no with something that can back it up so that we can protect our township from lawsuits.
And I will tell you, Candy and Rick and I did go to that township thing.
Citizen planner.
The Citizen
Citizen
Planner.
Planner.
Yep, at the MSU extension offered, and there that came up, and at length it was explained this and this. And I will say, long sessions. I mean, 3 hours is a long time on a weekday night.
We won't give the public the detail that you guys got,
but I mean,
we'll hit the high
was
points.
very educational, and I walked away knowing more than I used to.
This all goes into the importance of having a master plan that truly reflects the trajectory that we want our township to take.
Yep.
So I think it's a great idea,
Okay.
just for discussion. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, so my next step will be to go out and seek some proposals. I have already engaged with Michigan Association of Planning a little bit. They currently offer a 4-hour session, which I think is too long. So I'm going to work with them on what we can do to maybe cut that back a little bit. I also love the idea of offering it maybe even as a virtual option.
Right.
I know myself, especially if it's in the evening, would prefer to do something like that from home. So I think we'll look at some different
I
options.
think that
and we'll
has
come
to be
back.
part of it for
Maybe
sure.
a 4-part situation video,
Yeah, yep.
type thing. Yeah,
That would be good.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. And just the second thing that I had, in the future, we do need to have our various members of boards just provide us an update, so that if a resident asks one of the non-participating members of that board a question, they will at least have the basics to be able to answer that question. So that would be, Rick would provide some update. Nothing specific, but, we've made a few changes. We allowed a few variances, and maybe we have to look at changing something in the future. In your case, Bill, you'll go ahead and like some of the people that thought they hadn't seen Summerfield previously, if you discuss it at this point of the meeting, that, hey, before the planning commission.
I hadn't seen it either.
Because he was not at.
Oh,
that
you,
last
that's
meeting.
right.
That's
You
the day I was
missed that
in,
meeting.
yeah.
Okay, well, so you wouldn't have been able to help us in this
I
instance.
was like
but,
reading, I was like, wait a minute, I've never seen this.
just so it's not a surprise to anyone that didn't see the planning commission, Todd will of course provide updates on what's going on at the Brighton Area Fire Authority, and Robin or I will discuss MHOG and GEO goings on. That's a lot of very just minutia stuff, but if something exciting happens, we'll let you know.
Well, I'll tell you, is it discussion time right now?
It is discussion time.
Okay. Then, in our last planning meeting, I'll give you guys a heads up of what's coming down the line. Right next door to Speedway gas station on Grand River Avenue, across from where Hobby Lobby's going, there's that big vacant building. Used to be an indoor batting cage. It was a Salvation Army. We just had a planning commission meeting come in with a developer that's proposing knocking down that building. And they're gonna put, at the back of that property, we don't get to see the back of that property, but they have like 6 acres, but in the back, they're gonna erect a Goodwill back there with a whole bunch of parking spaces. This is a proposal, right? And then closer to the road, we're gonna add in this is the proposal, add in a right-hand turn lane to access this property. And they're gonna have a banking institution, I think it's a bank or a credit union in there.
Well, we
And
need
then-
more banks.
Yeah, I said, can't we just say no? Eric said, geez, oh man. And then the next building is gonna be a 4 attached unit with the 2 end caps being food service, like restaurant.
Tacos.
I don't know, one of them's gonna have a drive-through, one of them's not gonna have a drive-through, and the 2 middle buildings, they don't know what they're gonna put in there yet, but that's something that's just now happening. So when we start seeing rumblings of that piece of property looking to be developed, potential plans and everything, that's eventually it'll end up here if it gets that far.
That building that exists there today has struggled for a long time.
And you know what? That is development along the Grand River corridor.
Yep.
That's perfect.
Yep.
One slight comment I want to make about the Summerfield thing, like most of us were new to it. I didn't know much about it, but I took it upon, just my thought process, I took upon myself to go back through the planning commission minutes previous, many times, to find out more about it beforehand. So I got that background to it. So that's just where my
it's
thought
there.
process goes. So,
Anything
catching up on
exciting at the
some of them.
ZBA? Since we're doing this, anything exciting at the
Show and
ZBA?
tell?
Anything exciting at the ZBA? Well, that's a tough board, by the way. I had a lot of advice from people prior to getting on the ZBA that basically said, I only have to learn one word, no. However, we have things that do come up that, even though it's not, the ZBA has 4 specific criteria it has to meet in order to get a variance. And it has to be, the main thing is it has to be hardship with the property. It can't be self-imposed and all this kind of stuff. But there are some things that because of the Wild West with some of our residents and doing what they want as opposed to getting permission or a permit, they do it anyway, and then all of a sudden someone comes in and wants to do it the right way, legal way, and we're telling them no when others, neighbors have done it the other way. So there are gonna be some conversation and some things in the master plan and zoning ordinance changes that I'm gonna have some input with that in order to suggest that we change some of those things in order to allow people to, because we're not gonna go back 20 years and tell people they gotta take their fence down, that sort of stuff. So one of the things that the chairperson of the ZBA, which is Mary Ann McCreary, has pointed out that variances, the more time you have variance for the same thing, it's time to change the ordinance.
Something's wrong.
So that's
Yep.
that's where we're looking at, some changes in that respect, especially when it comes to areas like 2 front yards. You can't have a fence, corner lots, and is there a setback or just no fence at all, type thing and so forth. So there'll be some language that will be addressed for our master plan to try to address some of that stuff. And our chicken people. We had someone come in that wanted to have chickens. They have 2 acres, but they're zoned rural residential, not agricultural, and they're 2 acres, but they're right next to an agriculture. Well, we had to say no to it, but the city of Brighton is looking to allow chickens.
All right.
And Howell is looking to add chickens.
All right.
And ours is like, we're kind of caught in between with having 2 acres for them to do that, but we have to say no because it doesn't allow it right now, so.
See, I
I
can,
know of a particular individual that had some chickens and everything was like fine and they were flying under the radar until they got a rooster.
Yeah, that
And
changes things.
Then everybody knew about their chickens and it became a problem and the chickens had to go.
Right, right.
see, I understand the restriction in a subdivision and tight-knit areas, but 2 acres to me seems like
I know.
more than enough for
Well,
chickens.
we postponed the decision, and I told them we're gonna postpone it, take that as a win, because 3 of the people were already going, 3 of the members on the board were going, no, like, I really don't wanna tell you no, but we have to. And I said, there's hope here, so we're postponing it to hopefully, maybe make some modifications to that. But it's always about, the easy ones are when someone wants to come in and build a house and they want 2 feet off of where they have to do and so forth. And, but some of these get it changed.
Excuse me. It's a tough board to be on.
Yeah, it is.
I wouldn't want it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I think I want to apply for combat pay, but that's okay.
Bucks a day.
John, anything about Brighton area fire that you would like to mention?
At our upcoming meeting, we're gonna vote on devices that can perform CPR, like automatically
Oh,
for
cool.
patients.
Yeah.
Trying to acquire some more of that equipment.
What does that run, cost-wise? Do you know?
I don't recall, but I did do some reading, comparing the price in the upcoming meeting package to prices for the products that I could find online. And whoever's shopping for BAFA is doing a great job.
Good.
Yeah.
What cost did you find?
Rick just asked me that, and I said that I don't recall.
Oh.
But whoever is shopping for BAFA did work out a much better deal than everything that I could find online.
That's good.
Yeah, to include like extra batteries, and it requires like a special bag for carrying and all the stuff, the peripherals you wouldn't think of when you think of a device like that. So,
Now, would that be appropriate for, just a thought that just ran in my head, would that be an appropriate piece of equipment to have a township office?
it requires special training.
Oh, it does, okay.
Yeah.
I just thought.
It's not
since
like an
it was-
AED that talks to you and says to do all
Oh,
that.
okay,
No, it's a
Okay.
very unique thing.
okay.
And just so it doesn't come as a total shocker, there will be major renovations to Station 31, which is the station in downtown Brighton. It's the main hub where all the administrative offices are.
Right.
Been in the works for a long time, so you're gonna start, it's
Everything-
going up, it's going out, yeah, it's,
That's just a continual
Yeah,
topic.
yeah. But there have now been meetings with the builder, and so it's kind of, it's go time.
What's wrong with it? It's too small, old, or something?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
That building's been there a long
very
time.
antiquated, and it doesn't house, if you're gonna house all the administrative staff there, you don't have enough room for the firefighters you're about to hire to have residences, or places to stay, dormitories, I guess we would call them. So you either have to move administrative staff somewhere else, or modify that one, and the determination was made that modifying that one was the
they
most
got the space,
cost-effective
great.
way to go, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
great.
gonna be a little bit of trouble for a year and a half here while Grand River is done, but after that, it is the location that makes the most sense.
I never knew this about the firehouse. Whenever you go by a fire station, they've got a tower, like, that's enclosed, and that's where they hang all their hoses to dry inside. I didn't know that. Kinda neat.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
that was for a longer pole.
Yeah, who knows?
Nothing super exciting going on at MHUG or GO.
No, the water's still flowing and the toilets are still flushing, so all's good.
The project to modify the water main is in process, so that the water main supply from the Marion plant is proceeding as expected. So.
I'd just like to add that at the next meeting on the 19th, I will not be here. I had a trip that was planned prior to even being on the board that was already paid for, that I won't be here. So just letting you know.
Have a great time.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
At our last meeting, I mentioned that there was going to be the following day, House Energy Committee hearing regarding PA 233 and House Bill 4027 and 4028. I attended that meeting on behalf of Genoa Township in support of those two bills. And there were quite a few people, elected and non-elected, who had an opportunity to speak. The hearing was packed. Due to time constraints, not everybody had an opportunity to speak. Jason Wolford, Republican from House District 50, spoke in favor of both of the bills. He did a great job. I didn't see our representative for House District 48, Democrat Jennifer Conlon, in attendance. Thus, she did not speak. The committee voted at the end of the hearing the two bills passed along party lines, so the bills could then go before the House for a floor vote. The House conducted a floor vote for both bills on the 30th of April, and they both passed on party lines. It's, in my opinion, poor that this has become a partisan issue, as it affects all of us, regardless of what party we support. And it still needs to go before the Senate, where a lot of people anticipate that the bills are going to die. And even if they do pass the Senate, it's anticipated that our governor will not allow them to move forward, as they would make it harder for her to advance her clean energy agenda. And I encourage everybody to get involved and request that the Senate allow these two bills to pass. And just remember that public engagement in all levels of government does make a difference. That's all I got to say about that.
Excellent. Thank you, and thank you for going and representing us.
Thank you.
So, Kelly, I know Jeff mentioned the letter. Do you want to just mention it on the correspondence?
Yeah, I sure do, Mr. Chair. I just included in the packet a really neat piece of history that was shared with me by Craig Leslie, who is on the Crooked Lake Aquatic Management Association. It's a history of Little Crooked Lake from 1948, and I thought it was a really cool piece of our history. We do have a history page on the township website, and I'd like to add this to it.
Please
and
do.
just wanted to share it with the board so that you could review it, because I thought it was pretty neat.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
It is a super cool read.
I'm
really neat.
assuming if we post it, it's not going to post exactly like this, right?
That's
Because-
the only format I have.
Because
It's a
you have
bad
to almost
layout.
look at each page being separate, because you can't just go straight down one line up the other. You get confused with it. So,
It's old and
yeah, the page breaks are.
not done well.
It's different.
Yeah, it's kind of, I enjoyed reading it, but I had to go over it a couple times just to get the page breaks right. But it was pretty cool read, yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have a way to change the format. I'll look into it, but I'm not sure if I'll
We
be able
copy
to.
and paste it into a new PDF or something?
We could, yeah. I'll see what I can do. I'll try to play with it, see if I
Did you read
can.
Not
I
all
mean,
of
maybe
it.
even
pretty
Kathleen
cool.
could just retype it.
And looking at that history page on the website, I hadn't visited that page in a while, and there is some really neat information on there. So if you're ever bored in the evening and you want to click on that Genoa Township history page, there's some really cool background on some of the original people who moved to our community, and I enjoyed spending a few minutes just sort of scrolling through it and encouraged.
It's interesting reading about the different families and recognizing the different street names.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
It's like, oh, well, that's where that came from.
yes.
So last week on Tuesday, Kelly and Kevin and me met with Trevor Bennett, who is the Director of Operations for the Livingston County Road Commission. I wanted to talk to him about chloride. I live on a dirt road, and it is a hot mess usually after they spread that around. So he gave me some information on why they do it and all that kind of stuff. And they did it on Friday, and it wasn't nearly a mess like it was. So I hope maybe he said something to that guy, like, lighten up over there.
Conditions affect a lot, but, you know.
Because it had rained, like you said, it needs to be a little damp, and then they put it down, but sometimes you can hardly drive on it, it's so slippery, and I don't drive fast, but we talked about The roads, 50% of the roads in Livingston County are like gravel, dirt,
There.
whatever they are.
That high, 50%?
50%.
That's what he said, and he
Oh,
said
Livingston County.
the
Livingston
biggest
County.
wear and tear on them is people driving too fast.
Yeah.
He said it's really hard on the roads. And I said, then why can't we put a speed limit in? And that's mandated by the state. Plus, they wouldn't be able to police it. And it was good. So it was nice of him to come, you know, and enlighten me on that kind of stuff. And I appreciate what they do. I do. And it was good.
I'm biased, but the road commission is a very well-run organization.
That's good. I
Having
also live
witnessed.
on a dirt road, and I swear it pouring rain right after they chloride
I
in
know.
front of me.
It's like a rain
Every
dance
time.
almost. I know.
A little rain is good.
It's gonna rain, let's do Robin's house.
But I was really glad to see it not be such a mess. Tonight it's just sticking just all over my car. It's hard to get it off. And I gotta wash it like a couple times. And this is, you know, the rain almost got it off. I'm thrilled.
It's kind of a necessary evil is what the discussion
does
boiled down to.
Yep, and it
They're
was-
not super stoked about it either, but dust is a serious issue. You can get into some troubles with Eagle.
Well, and he said if they don't put it down, that's hard on the road too. It helps keep
It
the
is,
road
yeah,
intact.
absolutely.
So there you go. That's what I know
Excellent.
about the road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to that end, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Support?
All right, I have a motion, I have a support. Second, discussion. All those in favor, aye. Aye. See you, Ben.
I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
Bye, Ben.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
No, that's okay. You took a picture of it, right?
Yeah, but I didn't know if you wanted to.
Can I have
You
this?
have, yeah, you have this.